Hi everyone, welcome to the stream. I must say, with Terence here on the scene, we've got quite an interesting night ahead. Um, I do have quite a passion for mathematics, and when I found out that Terence has said that 1 times 1 is equal to 2, I thought I must have a look at this. I'm not sure how many of you know this, but I do actually tutor mathematics um, for high school students. I tutor mathematics as well as some first and second year university, but most of the subjects there are tutors only calculus and like differential equations and stuff like that. But with Terence here, yeah, like I said, it's going to get interesting. Now, full disclaimer, I'm not quite sure if this is the paper that I'm going to peer review is from the correct Terence Howard. But it says Terence Deshawn Howard at the top. I did find it on X, so let's at least hope it works. Yeah, I'm gonna give a couple of minutes and then we can get into this. For clarity's sake, this is the paper that we are going to have a look at. Um, like I said, it might not be the real Terence Howard, but it at least is a Terence Howard. So we have something to look at for tonight. I've not gone over much of this before. I've skimmed it here and there just to see what the arguments are that he tries to capture in this paper. But like I said, I have not gone into depth on this yet. I know the paper that he sent to Neil deGrasse Tyson was like 32 pages, and this one that I found on X was about, I think it's 4 pages if I remember correctly now. So it's definitely not the one that was sent to Neil deGrasse Tyson. But if we have something to look at, why not look at it? At first glance, I can already see quite a few mathematical mistakes just on the first page, but let's get into this and let's start from the top. So, unbalanced equation argument 1 times 1 does not equal 1, it equals 2. By Terence Deshawn Howard. I'm just going to call him Terence. Yeah, first and foremost, let us ask the most obvious question. Is this a finished equation? Yes or no? If we're speaking about 1 times 1 equaling 1, it's definitely a finished equation as the mathematical operation has been done and we have received an answer. I explained in the video that I released on Friday exactly what multiply means in mathematics, but basically it's taking a column of the one value and repeating the second value, repeating it the same amount of times that the second value is, and then just adding those values. So if you have 1 times 2, you have a column and you have 1, 2 in the column and you add it together, which gives 2. If you have 2 times 100, you have a column with 100 and you repeat it twice, you add it together, that's 200. And that is what multiplication is basically. But let's see. He says the answer is no. Let's start our forensic audit there. It is an incomplete equation. Why? Because it's not even on both sides. But like I just explained, it actually is even on both sides. The 1 times 1 with the column being 1 and 1 is just 1, so it should be. If you want 1 to be 1 times 1 to be 2, you have to do a sum and not the multiplication. Yeah, so first and foremost, that's the error in basically all of your equations that you use this argument in. Because it's not even on both sides. Yes, nature desires action but demands equilibrium. Also, like I said on Friday, the video that I did, Terence said something in the manner of an action times an action is a reaction. In nature, if you want equilibrium, one action, me pushing my one hand, has a reaction from the other hand pushing back. So it's only two actions, and we're not multiplying them. The one action forces the reaction. And if we look at Newton's third law, the reaction is just the same magnitude in the opposite direction. And in physics, we show direction with signs, positive or negative sign, depending, if we work in 2D space at least, depending on which way it goes. Now, if we have an action times an action being a reaction and the reaction being the negative action, with his argument, then 1 times 1 should be -1. But I covered that in the video on Friday, so if you have not had a look yet, please go have a look. So if we go and have a look now, yes, nature desires action but demands equilibrium. Therefore, in order for an equation to be finished, both sides of the equation must be equally balanced. This sounds like chemistry, a balanced equation, but most of mathematics is just balancing equations. That's also how units work. It's balancing. If you have on the one side joules divided by seconds, then your unit would be joules per second, but we simplified that to watt. So let's go to, therefore, it must be equal and balanced. Yet in the case of 1 times 1 equaling 1, we have an unfinished equation because we have two ones on the one side and 1 1 on the other side. Now this might be where you have the confusion. If we look at something like 2 to the power of 6, for example, then we would have 6 2's on the one side, and the answer on the other side would not be 6 2's added together. That's the difference between multiplication. So you have sums. So if you have sums, let's say 2 plus 2 plus 2, to simplify that, we say 2 times 3. Now if we take that a step higher, we have 2 times 2 times 2. We simplify that to the 2 to the power of 3. And that's the so that's the basis of how mathematics work. We try to simplify things so we don't have to go in the end and add thousands and thousands of numbers together. So let's attempt to balance this equation. First, by making sense of it, let's label the relative factors. We will call the first value of 1 A. So we have an A. We will call the second value B. So we will have an A times a B. And we will call the third value of this equation on the opposite end C. So then we will have A times B equals C, which is a valid algebraic expression because two values multiplied with each other will give a third value. In the case of equal, where A is equal to B, we will have A times A, which would then algebraically give us A squared. And that, I think, is something that just goes over Terence's head. So A times A being A squared, and A squared, if we make A1, is 1. If we make A2, it's 4. If we make A3, it's 9. 4 becomes 16, and so on and so forth. Before we carry on with the second half of the first page, I see we have at least a few viewers and some comments. So I'm reading the paper, finished the first paragraph, it's bonkers. Yes, look, like I said in the opening, I'm not quite sure if this is the legit paper that he wrote, but all of this is based on every interview that I've seen from him thus far. So it is bonkers, it's complete, I think, okay, yes, it's bonkers, but I think looking at this, having him wanting to balance everything on the left to the right, he might be a great chemist. Not a great mathematician, but because 1 times 1 being 2 is not valid, but a great chemist, because if we have 2 hydrogens, 2 oxygens on the one side, we would want 2 hydrogens and 2 oxygens on the other side. So yes, and Murray said, actual mathematician here, my attempt to debunk Terence is racist. So I'd love to see how this might even be racist. It's at this stage, race has nothing to do with this, because if any person would have put this paper out and it got the attention that Terence Howard got, I would have been sitting here to debunk it. And I agree with Nell C, thinking that Murray might be a troll. Yes, Murray, did you use math to conclude racism? Did you use Terence's math or regular math? I think he used teleology. So carrying on to the second part. Remember the basic law of common sense. If A times B is equal to C, then C must be some product of A and B. And in my video Friday, I once again explained what the product is. It's the whole column summed together that I just explained a bit earlier. So in order for 1 times 1 to be equal to 1, we would have a column of 1, 1 added to itself, basically, which is just 1. And there we have 1 times 1 is 1. The value of either A or B has to be missing from the final product of C. Let's not jump this gun. The value of either A or B has to be missing from the final product of C. Let's not jump the gun just yet. Well, if you look at something like 4 times 4, it becomes 16. So both values go technically missing because now you just have a 1 and a 6. Whereas if you have 1 times 11, it's 11. Now we still have 1s there. So I'm not quite sure what he means by this. Unless he wants both 1s to disappear in the answer, it's not making any sense. Yeah, so let's not jump the gun just yet. Yeah, let's not jump the gun for Terence. Maybe he has some common sense left. Let's try and add 1 on both sides. Okay, so if we add 1 on both sides, we will have 1 times 1 plus 1 if we use orders of operation on the one side. On the other side, we would have 1 plus 1. Okay, so orders of operations on the left-hand side, 1 times 1 being 1. Adding 1 would give us 2. On the right-hand side, 1 plus 1 is 2, so we have 2 equals to 2, so I don't see a problem. Okay, let's see what he does. So he said 1 plus 1 times 1 equals 2, which is still a valid equation. So associative and commutative laws. Plus, so if we use the plus anywhere in the equation, but remember, orders of operations still matter. So if we would have moved this plus 1 that we have over here, if we moved this to before this 1, it would be 1 plus 1 times 1. After this one, it would be 1 plus 1 times 1. Or after the 1 at the end, it would be 1 times 1 plus 1. But order of operations is still very important. Orders of operations, meaning we have to multiply first. And multiplying, we get 1, which is 1 times 1. 1 and 1 gives 2, and that's a valid answer. So over here is the first big mathematical error, thinking that 1 plus 1 is 3. So maybe that is the actual teleology that he wants to sell us. And it's not 1 times 1 is 2, but 1 plus 1 is 3. I think we're onto something new, guys. Associative and commutative law, when A and B are positive integers, that A is to be added to itself as many times as there are units in B. Okay? Then 1 is added to itself 1 time and you get 2. So with this definition over here, adding to oneself, you start from 0. Because 1 times 2, so 2 added to itself 1 times, we start from 0, is 2. Because if we use this logic now that he wants, we start at the value that we're multiplying with. If we go 1 times 2, it's 2 added to itself 1 times, would give us 4. So 1 times 2 would be equal to 4. 1 times 5 would be equal to 10. 1 times any number would be double that number, which actually just gives us the 2 times table. So if Terence wants the 1 times table to be the 2 times table, then the 2 times table should probably be the 3 times table. And if we carry on with that, that logic, so then 1 is added to itself 1 time and you get 2. So that sentence makes sense if you look at it mathematically, 1 added to 1 is 2. But like I said, with the commutative law, we have to start from 0. That's where the column comes in. So it's a column of ones, repeated ones, summed together. That's a better visualization of how the commutative law works. Now add 1 plus 1 to the left side of the equation and also add 1 to the right side of the equation. 3 equals to 2 and thus doesn't look like a balanced equation. It doesn't look like a balanced equation because it's wrong, just to start there. Going to the next page, let's see, it's this one. So the next page of this, we would have, let's try to subtract 1 from both sides. Okay, so we're going to some other mathematical operations. Chat says 1 plus 1 equals 3, brain is melting. Look, if you look into conspiracy theories and stuff like this for long enough, your brain melts quite daily. But NASA has given us the power to regenerate our brains. They just don't want you to know about it yet. So yeah, let's try to subtract 1 from both sides. So now we'll have the same problem. 1 minus 1 is 0 and 1 minus 1 is 0. But like Terence would have you to think that 1 times 1 is 2, we would be left with 1 equals to 0. There are quite an interesting few proofs on YouTube, at least, that you can go and prove 1 equal to 0 or even 2 equals to 0 and stuff like that with quite minute mathematical errors that if you don't focus on the whole equation, that you won't pick up on in the first time, which would be a great mind blunder to show to Terence, and then he would actually think he's correct. So now we have 1 equals to 0, and again, unbalanced and unequal equation, an uneven equation that we cannot call finished. 1 can never be equal to a 0, a no thing, nor can 3 be equal to 2, which is correct. 1 and 0 are not equal to each other. So at least he has some notion of mathematical sense in this. But the 3 equal to 2 and the 1 equal to 0, how we got to the equation shows he has less than nothing in his mathematical abilities. Okay, so let us simply apply the associative and commutative law to the initial equation again. So once again, it's probably not going to follow orders of operations. Let's simply add associative initial, add A to itself as many times as indicated by unit in B. So this is, like I said, this is misleading because with product, you start from 0. So if you have 1 times 1, you add 1 to 0 technically, and then you carry on from there, which makes it makes a bit more sense than having to understand that add a unit to itself as many times as the other value is. So 1 times 1 does not equal 1. 1 times 1 and 1 plus 1 both equal 2. So that is the biggest flaw. 1 plus 1, yes, is equal to 2. But because you want to start from 1 and add 1 every time, that's where the error comes in. 1 times 1 is not 2. Funny enough, on all of his interviews and stuff, he goes every time and say, take the square root of 2, and then he recites the whole 1.4, whatever it is, like people reciting pi. And he always fails to mention that it's incorrect. It's supposed to be 1. And also the operations he uses in that you can use algebra and prove that the square root of x cubed is the same as x times the square root of x, because the cubed underneath the square root would change and come out, become the x, so it's just x times. So yeah, but the nitty gritty all aside, it's in the bigger picture, he's wrong. It's always nice to see people challenging the notions of established mathematics and stuff like that, because that is what happened. That is how we got to mathematics today, and it's how we got to science today, because 1,000 years ago, Earth was not in the center of the universe, or 2,000 years ago, or 10,000 years ago, whatever. The Earth was flat, it's not in the center of the universe, the sun was moving around the Earth, and stuff like that. And people challenged that, and look where we are today. Today we can talk to each other with satellites that's in space. And I know the flat earthers will say it's the undersea network cables, but the undersea network cable coming to South Africa was off the other day. Only some of our connections were interrupted, but I could mainly still work. And it actually, so what was the remainder of the network that came into South Africa? But all that aside, and since both doubling their value, then it follows that they're different expressions, the same function. This point where the waves of arithmetic and waves of multiplication converge. Okay, so Terence wants symbols to be waves. I'd like to see him try and prove that the plus, or that arithmetic sequences like plus and minus, have a wave function like a Schrödinger wave function. That would be a very interesting topic for Terence to cover. Same for multiplication, or multiplication and division, because they are also like plus and minus, the two sides of the same coin. So 1 plus 1 is 2, correct. 1 times 1 is 2. So this implies, by just looking at this, it implies that the multiplication sign and the plus sign mean the same thing. So I know two values that it means the same thing, which is 0 plus 0, which is 0, and 0 times 0, which is 0. And the other one is 2 plus 2, which gives 2, and 2 plus 2, which gives 4, and 2 times 2, which gives 4. Those are the only two valid point where the waves of arithmetic and the waves of multiplication converge. So let's look at, if we rewrote Terence's math as a function of t such that the function of t at points a and b equals c, does Terence's math make more sense? So if it's a function at c, then we'll need to have a function that describes points on that curve of the function to converge at point C, basically. So I'll try and see, we can maybe later have a look at something like Desmos. Oh, come on. So Desmos is a great graphing calculator. A graphing calculator, and you have functions to graph. So if we have any function at the point A and B to be C, we will need, so if we have a point 1 and 1 to be 1, so there's only in 2 dimensions, so a point 1 and 1, so if we have a function at this point over here at 1 and 1 to be 2, we would need this point to represent a value probably on the z-axis to represent the value of 2, but this does not, so it would try and make sense, but I don't think Terence has the capacity to make a lot of sense on this. So he really learned math from Pippi Longstockings. I have heard of Pippi Longstockings. I know with the two ponytails and stuff like that, but as a South African, it's not quite too familiar like children's story, I'm guessing. So yes, it's about 5 decades since I read Pippi Longstockings. I can't remember her math. So Nelsie, I don't know her math, but I'll look it up, and then we can see what Pippi's math was. But Pippi had a special math, like 3 times 3 is 6. I see where he got it. So she also just said 3 plus 3 instead of times. Okay. So guys, we've solved it. We don't have to go further. Terence is Pippi in disguise. Okay, but let's carry on. So you see what happens when you follow the clear expression rules of associative and commutative laws. So we see what happens when you clearly misunderstand them. It's quite fun to see people thinking they are so right, yet being so wrong. I myself have had a few times like that. I've never published a paper to try and prove how wrong I am, but I think everybody, at least one time in their life, has at least um, made a blunder and said something that they thought was right to try and win an argument, yet it wasn't right. So I don't blame him for being wrong. I just blame him for putting papers out there. So the only logical reason for 1 times 1 to ever equal or to have ever equaled 1 is because someone forgot to follow the basic rules of multiplication. We can actually turn this sentence on him to say the only logical reason for somebody for 1 times 1 to ever equal or have ever equaled 2 is because someone forgot to follow the basic rules of multiplication. So just turning the sentence right back on him. So otherwise, there is no way to make mathematical sense or solve for the impossible hypothesis of 1 times 1 equals 1. I hereby call, and pardon my French, bullshit on 1 times 1 equaling 1. Yeah, that's not French, that was English. No, I'm kidding, I know it's a saying. But yeah, like the previous sentence, we can also turn this back on him. So otherwise, there's no way to make mathematical sense or solve for the impossible hypothesis of 1 times 1 equaling 2. And then pardon his French, because 1 times 1 equaling 2 is just BS. Like I said, there's no way at least with current mathematics, to prove this. And look, people have tried to change mathematics, but they haven't succeeded yet. It's fun, guys. On that note, I must immediately declare that 1 times 1 equaling 1 is a false statement and likewise based upon the current practices in the field of mathematics. 1 times any number would equal an unfinished equation because both sides of the equation would never be equal as long as 1 times 1 equals 1. And yeah, it's not true, but like I said, Terence can be a chemist because he would like to balance chemical equations all day long. If 1 times 1 is 1, then 3 equals 2, 1 equals 0, and A times B equals A. So A times B would equal to A if B was 1. So then A times 1 would be 1A or just A. So if A times B equals A, there is no valid reason other than B equal 1. Okay, then all of these impossible unrealities must also be inequalities probably, but must likewise be reconsidered and relabeled as true statements. A times A equal A, B times B. So once again, this is the trying to deceive part. Not that I'm saying he's trying to deceive people, but it's trying to play with numbers into variables. Because 1 times 1 is 1, but 2 times 2 is not 2, and 3 times 3 not 3, and we can carry on into infinitum. So A times A would be A squared, and then the next one would be B squared, C squared, X squared, Y squared, Z squared. So all of them would just be squares of themselves. So it's about the guy Red Puppy. Yes, she had to school, but made a teacher crazy. Didn't invent any math, it's her own interpretation of math. Like the guy who wrote the paper. Yeah, like I said, I think this is, if I look at it, and I've listened to quite a few podcasts and places where Terence was, I don't think this is the paper he wrote, but this is a summary of basically everything he says in all the podcasts he's been on. So I call on all elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. I call to all the nursery school teachers and kindergarten teachers. I call upon the schools of higher learning and all of the thinking branches of academia to do an immediate audit upon this false statement. I think we should call on all those schools to rather audit Terence and ask, or maybe Terence should ask for his money back, because if he went to any school or studied at any institution and this is what they taught him to conclude from 1 times 1, we should probably have him refunded and go to a different school. So after thoughtful reflection and literally thousands of hours of observation, coupled with 5 decades of deep and contemplative work upon the subject, it has brought me to the inevitable conclusion that this false concept must have been the brainchild of a godlike figure of some sort. So Terence at this stage wants God or a godlike figure to prove his math. So reaching for higher powers, because that's the only way you will be able to get 1 times 1 equal 2 is divine intervention. Because at this stage on our earth, 1 times 1 will never be 2. So yes, a godlike figure of some sort. Someone whom the people possibly credited for giving them the multiplication table and their geometry. So in the early days, people like Pythagoras and the music of the spheres and stuff like that, people tried to bring mathematics and divinity and stuff like that together, which credit on them, it worked for them. But saying that 1 times 1 equal 2 comes from a godlike figure because that's where geometry came from. This geometry came from everyday life. It's something that you can see with your bare naked eye, something that you in your home can create with sticks and any tools. So it's not, nobody credited godlike figures or divinity for the incredible gift of multiplication table and geometry. A gift that set civilization apart from the rest of the world. A multiplication table and a system calculating that would enable the civilization to rule the then known world from the time of the late Egyptian dynasty till the Medes and the Persians brought a sudden end to their way of life. So he wants the Egyptians to also have believed 1 times 1 is 2. That's the only thing I gather from this. And then some call them the Anunnaki, which is like planet Nibiru type. So it's also just a whole another branch of conspiracy theories. I would actually like to speak to like a psychologist or somebody on the mind of a conspiracy theorist. One of my friends is currently busy doing his residency as an anesthesiologist, and he said he spoke to somebody in genetics, and that there can be genetic markers that allow people to be, we can call it more gullible, but it's easier for them to believe in the conspiracy side of the world. So maybe he's just a slave to biology. So some people call them the Anunnaki, the sky people, whomever they were, that gave the naive generation some 6,000 years ago a multiplication table and a flat view of universal geometry. Guys, I don't want to call it out, but from this sentence it sounds like Terence might be a flat earther as well. So maybe we'll see Terence featuring on some flat earth videos as well. They gave that poor misguided people a false axiom upon which to build their world. A false axiom that would behave almost as a bumper for our infantile-like species, a tutor as it were. A false axiom that would allow for a measure of growth and productivity for that civilization, but would inevitably lead to failure and its inevitable collapse. So now, Terence is claiming it's the Anunnaki's fault for giving multiplication tables to the Egyptians, which caused them to I'm not sure what, but it caused them to fail because now they could multiply, which means now they understood what the volume of the stone blocks of the pyramids were. I'm not quite sure where he's trying to go with this, because it's not it's math didn't cause the Egyptian dynasties to crumble. So unfortunately for the latter generations that would eventually come to inherit the once thriving Mediterranean metropolis that includes the not so lucky entire world, um, um, I'm enjoying the world that I'm living in. Sure, it's not always the best, but at least it's fun. So now for the last 5,000 or plus years, our ancestors enslaved our thinking with a dogma for generations upon generations, leading down to our great grandparents, and who in like manner indoctrinated their children, who in turn would help through the newly formed system called tradition, to propagate this false truth on the rest of the world. So yeah, I'm not even sure where to start with this. So the not so lucky entire world. Now for the last 500 years or plus, our ancestors enslaved our thinking. I'm not sure. Look, I know Terence does have some sort of degree or higher education or something. So at least if you study a degree in physics, I've done a degree in physics. They don't tell you this is what it should be. They give you the equipment. You go to the lab. You do measurements. You do calculations. You see, that's where they get you. It's with the calculations. It's with those calculations that they enslave you, and now we're slaves. I'm not quite sure what I'm slave for, but I'm a slave to 1 plus 1 not equal 1 times 1. I think that's what I'm a slave to. But like I said, as a student in a science, at least in science, any science field, you test and you write hypotheses, and you want to test, and you have to write papers that you also have to test, and it's quite a lot of testing, and not just this is the answer, learn it. So yeah, and indoctrinating their children, who in turn would help form the system of so-called tradition. Science isn't tradition. In fact, science very often tries to prove itself wrong, because that's the way that we would have progress in any scientific field. If we just accept, okay, today we stop, or if Einstein said, today we stop, Newton was right, there's nothing else to carry on with, then we wouldn't have the relativity equations, time dilation, and length contraction and stuff like that. That wouldn't exist. Yet it doesn't prove Newton wrong, but what it does do is it expands on the ideas of Newton. And with length contraction and time dilation, at speeds much lower than the speed of light, which is our everyday speeds, they all collapse into Newton's laws of motion, which is great because that means they work in the real life scenario. So yeah, because of their wrong approach to the rules of multiplication, their systems would all likewise eventually fail, because they would all build upon false and faulty foundation, once suffering the damages from being dependent upon the principles of implied predictability of loss. Let's start with, so languages are very interesting, because if we didn't have our languages and how we display numbers and stuff like that, this technically wouldn't be an argument, because one wouldn't mean anything. But if we look at the practical side of the mathematics, which is more like the actually adding and subtracting and stuff like that, that is more where we get the one apple and one apple, we count them, it's 2 apples, so 1 plus 1 is 2. The other practical side of multiplication is more in, if I'm speaking in my field with radiation sciences and stuff like that, it's working with the intensity of radiation, where it decreases by the square of the distance between you and the source. The flat earthers like to quote this, for the inverse square law at least, like to quote this, with the intensity of the sunlight and stuff like that, which it seems like a valid point on the surface, but it's not always a valid point. But that's where the practical part of the multiplication really comes to show itself, because that's where 1 times 1 would be 1, because now you're 1 meter away from this source of radiation, and the intensity has not changed as much as it would if you were 2 meters away. Because if it was 1 times 1 equal 2 and you were 1 meter away from it, the intensity would be the exact same as it would have been if you were 2 meters away from it. But it's not, because 1 times 1 isn't 2. And I think if Terence had practical examples to prove this, he wouldn't have come to this conclusion. Or at least not 2 meters. If I now, it would be the square root of 2 meters, because we want to get to 1 squared is 2 at least. So yeah, so looking at the comments, I'll tell you a secret. I'm from Nibiru. I would love to go visit your home planet. If you have any means for me to travel along with you, if you ever go back, I'd really love to come and join you. And then Elsie said it's the conspiracy mythicist's standard gambit of jumping from bad math to bad history, and then just bad logic in between. I would add to that, because yeah, bad math and bad history compared with bad logic is just it's a recipe for disaster. And then we're heading on to the final page, guys. We're almost done. Oh goodness, sorry, I just looked at all these sums at the bottom, to infinity and beyond. So let's start with when 1 times 1 equal 1, it is implied that 50% of the potential will be lost at initial contact. With 1 times 1, the 50% of the potential will be lost at initial contact. That doesn't make sense. Doesn't make a lick of sense. If somebody would please try and explain this to me in the comments, I'd be very happy. I'd look at it now, but it doesn't make sense. It's like saying if you eat 2 plates of food, 50% of the petrol in your car would be lost if you run into a tree, because none of that ever fits anywhere with each other. Okay, so you start off with 2 values on one side. Oh, he's trying to explain it. Okay, I see. Start off with 2 values on one side, and in the process of multiplying them, one of the values goes missing, and nobody cares of what happened to it. No, one of the values didn't go missing. The one value is the constant, and the other one's the quotient, which tells you how many times to add it. So 1 times 1, the 1 is the constant, the 1, and the other one is the quotient. So it's not missing, it just has a different definition of being a constant value. It is a false axiom that unfortunately for us has become the very cornerstone of our misunderstandings concerning math and the nature of our universe. An untruth told to a naive people by someone that they trusted so much so that no one ever thought to question the accuracy and longevity of the system of calculating that what's being shared. So yeah, not questioning it. It's always good to question. Don't take anything everybody ever says to you as value. Always question it. Always research. It's great if you know something and you for sure 100% know it, and you tell it to me. I'm not going to believe it until I've researched the subject. My wife gets that's something I do often. She would tell me a story and I'm like, oh great, I quickly want to see what this is about, and then yeah, so that's just the person I am. So yeah, so false axiom, where was I now? Untruth told to naive people, they trusted so much that no one ever thought to question the accuracy. This is why I said if Terence had something in radiation, if you are studied anything in radiation, if you're 1 meter away from a source and 1.4, what's the square root? I haven't memorized it, guys. The square root of 2. So if you were 1 meter away from a source and 1.4142135623733095 meters away from the source, if 1 times 1 equals 2, then this value, the intensity of radiation at this distance, should be equal to the intensity of radiation at 1 meter. And in reality, it's not. So that's where his whole idea completely breaks down in practice. Okay, so an untruth told to naive for accuracy and longevity. Even now, almost 6,000 years later, why is that the only I in the history of recorded history have ever asked this question concerning unbalanced equations? There's, like I said, a whole field of chemistry working on unbalanced, or a big part of chemistry at least, is unbalanced and balancing equations, because law of constant composition and stuff like that. So an unbalanced equation that has masqueraded itself as the first truth of mathematics for more than 6,000 years. It hasn't masqueraded as anything, and it still is true, because you can test it in practice, like I said, with the intensity of radiation. If the intensity at those 2 meters, at the 1 meter and the 1.4 meters, just rounding off a bit, would be the same, then in practice 1 times 1 really is 2, because we square the value. And yeah, so, but enough of that. It could first truth for more than 600 years, when it could very well be the worst lie ever told in the history of math, with the worst and longest potential consequences. A lie that continues to be propagated by those that worship that false concept and profit from the loss of others. Who profits who from 1 times 1 being 1? Please explain, like how? Who? I'm not sure. Like, it's not me. If 1 times 1 was 2, great. I'd really love that. But nobody's profiting from 1 times 1 being 1. Okay. In my brief period, Chaz Setterfield. In my brief period as a middle school teacher, I occasionally had to act as a supply teacher for maths lessons. I found it incredibly difficult sometimes. So like I said, I tutor mathematics and sciences for in South Africa. It's grade 8 to matric, so it's from the age of 14 to 18. And then I also have a couple of university students that I sometimes help. So yeah, it is quite difficult, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure what grades or what ages middle school are, but especially with the teenagers, it gets a bit more difficult to get certain ideas into their head, because they always want to rebel against something. But I do quite have a passion for mathematics and sciences, and that's why I do the tutoring thing, because I want to get this false mistrust that people have in sciences, which is where most conspiracy theorists come from, with their mistrust in science and mistrust in the government and stuff like that. Look, I get no government in any country around the world is perfect, but no government would lie to its people to say 1 times 1 is 1. And again, who benefits from this? But yeah, I really want to eradicate this mistrust people have in science. I don't want to eradicate people questioning science, because it's great to question science, question everything. But don't mistrust everything, because not everybody is out to get you. At least not science. Mind Light Wave. He is an example of Dunning-Kruger effect. He is a perfect example of the Dunning-Kruger effect. He's in the Neil deGrasse Tyson said he's in the valley of this. He's in not the valley of despair. It's the peak. Can't remember what the peak's name is now, but perfect example, because he thinks he knows so much about the subject, yet he proves he knows so little. Why someone found it necessary to put a cap on the Mesopotamian, I completely missed that one. Put a cap on the Mesopotamian civilization's potential for advancement. I will not speculate. Perhaps it was the best thinking of time, as it were, as to where we would have advanced to if we had not been misled by the false statement again. It is of no benefit to speculate. So I'm guessing he would like something like Tartaria and the flying cars, and it's this futuristic city. So yeah, I'm guessing that's where he think we would have been at this stage if 1 times 1 were 2. So yeah, nevertheless, we are in the here and now, and we must hit the reset button and do a full about face concerning our approach to mathematics. Like I said, question sciences, question established fact and stuff like that. It will just get you to the same point as to where you question just reality. And then if you do the research and the experiments and stuff, you would get to the same answers that you tried to question, which is a great way of teaching science. Let people question it, test it, and get to their own conclusions. If their conclusions are misled, help them at least. If they are not misled and they actually got to what they tried to disprove, then great, you just helped somebody. So yeah, in light of this exercise, I feel that it's necessary for us to throw out the false positives and erroneous results. 1 times 1 equaling 1 is an equation that predicts a negatively discharging universe without the ability to overcome the radiational expanse of magnetism, because one would have to have a negative discharge in order for it not to bond with the second one and the unit. Guys, he completely went off the bandwagon now. Wait. I'm in shock for them. I'm really in shock now. Wait, I'll have to start this again. 1 times 1 equaling 1 is an equation that predicts a negatively discharging universe without the ability to overcome the radiational expanse of magnetism, because one would have to have a negatively discharge in order for it not to bond with the second one, and the universe made up of all discharging particles could never assemble into molecules and other more complex integrated systems. I think I'm dumb now. So let's take this bit by bit. This without the ability to overcome radiational predicts a negatively discharging universe. So a negative discharge would be, guys, and so it would be like if you fire a rifle, it discharges the round. So a negative discharge would be a misfire. So if our universe misfired, without the ability to overcome radiational expanse of magnetism. Radial expanse of magnetism might make a bit more sense because it goes out in like a spherical shape from well, not a magnetic monopole, but two finite south and north poles. It would go out in a spherical shape. So radial expanse of magnetism might be a bit more sensible, but radiational expanse of magnetism, it's something that could have been a bit more coherent, would have been the magnetic part of radiation, because it's electromagnetic radiation. But this, because one would have to have a negative, guys, I'm not sure what to say about this. One would by necessity have to be a positive integer in order for the gravitational and centripetal effect of electricity to accumulate atoms of low potential together into systems, and ultimately build wondrous universe abundant in dynamic energy. No. I refuse, guys. So let's Mount Stupid. Yeah, this is a prime example. I'm pointing at the screen like this is a prime example of Mount Stupid. From this whole sentence, nothing fits together. There's absolutely nothing that you can say. Like I tried to explain like the first two parts of this paragraph, but there's nothing here that you can at all say to make this any sense better. This wondrous universe abundant in dynamic energy, probably kinetic energy, which is great. Yeah, everything is moving, universe expanding. There's kinetic energy, great. Yeah, we can do this. It's that part I can understand, but don't attempt to understand this bullshit. Yeah, I full-heartedly agree. Yeah, we can't understand this. We're not on the same level as where Terence is, IQ wise or whatever you want to call this, but we're not on the same level. We're on, yeah. Everybody in this chat's now dumber for having to listen to it. Yeah, I read it. I had to read it twice because it probably went over my head, guys. We're not smart enough for Terence. It's. I shouldn't laugh, but it's yeah. I try. Yeah, I also probably shouldn't laugh, but that really caught me by surprise because, like I said in the beginning, I didn't really go through this. I looked at some of the equations that was in this, but this whole part really caught me by surprise. But let's finish off with the last part quickly. So when 1 times 1 is 2, we have a balanced equation where the laws of universal equilibrium and the conservation of universal energy remains intact. So conservation of energy is actually something. Equilibrium is something most systems strive to. But none of those systems strive to 1 times 1 being 2. So therefore, 1 times 1 equals 1 must be rewritten as 1 times 1 equals 2. So 1 times 1 is 2, 1 times 2 is 3, 1 times 3 is 4. And so basically 1 times 1 is just 1 plus 1. So the whole 1 times multiplication table is 1. It's just plus. Just swap it with a plus and we're fine. So my theory of him wanting the 1 times table to be the 2 times table and the 2 being the 3 is out of the door. But to infinity and beyond, there's nowhere else for Terence to go. Yeah, I'm befuddled, guys. I honestly have no idea what Terence. I'm speechless. So yeah, Terence is a fun guy. We probably shouldn't laugh at him, but it's always fun to laugh at people, especially if they are this high, not high, but probably high. If they have this much it's not self-esteem. This is just arrogance. If they are this arrogant, we can laugh at them. I think if they are this arrogant, we can laugh at them. Yeah, so that's my idea of Terence, and we are definitely able to laugh at him. Going over now. I'm just gonna chat for a while now because what I just want to share some insights that I have that I want to do with the channel and coming up. You guys would notice that usually in my videos I've got like Legos and stuff up here and some racetracks, but I've taken them down. I'm busy taking these mounts off the wall as well. Gonna do some painting and just some changing just to make it look a bit better. But yeah, so that's the plan. So probably in my next video you will still see the Legos. I'm not sure if there's one recorded for then, but you will probably see some of my Legos still. Otherwise, if not, it's going to be painted and it's going to look a lot different, but still going to be the same space. I just realized that on the stream it still shows the wrong image. Let's check here. Oh no, it does show, sorry. Okay, yeah, so I'm gonna paint and it's gonna look a bit better. So you shouldn't laugh yeah. Have you looked into his patents? I saw on the one talk show or something where he brought out his what do you call it? Like where he tried to refute the Platonic solids. I haven't looked into his patents yet. Let's see if I can. Do you have patent numbers for them? But otherwise, I'm quickly going to see if I can find any of them on Google. Then we can quickly have a nice look. Have a nice look at what Terence is. Howard applied for a patent in 2010 on a system and method for merging virtual reality and reality to provide an enhanced sensory experience. So he wanted to do Apple Vision. That's what I'm gathering from this. And then he also had 2 additional patents related to jewelry. Probably crystals. He looks like the crystal kind of guy. Yeah, he's probably the crystal kind of guy. So system and method for merging reality, and yeah, so those are the only 3 patents at least that I can find now. But I'll have a look at some of his patents. Anechoic tiles, yeah. So I ordered some tiles which are going to go up on the roof and then on the wall in front of me, because this wall's gonna be covered with some Legos and like some of my collectibles and memorabilia. Since I'm a Formula One fan, there's going to be some Formula One stuff up here as well. So the anechoic tiles will go on the roof as well as on the wall, probably beside me, but definitely across from me. Because at this stage, my study is quite, it's basically like a spare room in our house where I keep my mountain bike and all my cycle stuff. And I've got like a board game stable in here, so I'm going to do some moving around. His claims don't line up with the facts regarding patents. He didn't invent VR. Yeah, so what I can gather from his method, he didn't try. Well, I know he claimed that he invented VR, but from the patent that I can see here, he tried to merge VR and reality. So basically, like an augmented reality type to. So Apple Vision, like I said. So it's more something like augmented reality, closer to augmented reality at least. But yeah, his claims really doesn't line up with any of his, well, with anything. It's just these bonkers. Yeah, I forgot. Happy Father's Day. Father's Day is almost over here in South Africa. Got like 2 hours left of Father's Day, but happy Father's Day to any fathers that might be out there enjoying my channel. I'm glad you enjoy it. You can bring your kids, have them learn a thing or two so that they don't become conspiracy theorists at least. But yeah, I hope all the fathers out there at least enjoyed the day. Yeah, just another thing on the channel side. I saw, because I'm putting everything out there, trying to see what works and what doesn't work. I looked at the crystal healing part. I think it's 2 or 3 videos back. That didn't get a lot of traction from you guys. So I'm guessing crystal healing or alternative forms of medicine at least doesn't track that well with my audience. And then this Terence video also didn't get a lot of views. But look like you guys came for the flat earthers, and that's what you're here for. But yeah, so my next video coming out is Eric Dubé again. The previous one I did on him was him trying to define level, and this time he's back again. And he's back trying to define some more English for us. So yeah, so Eric Dubé, let's see if he's a better English teacher at least than he is. Well, yeah, let's just see if he can be an English teacher. Yeah, that's everything from my side, at least for tonight. I'm glad you people enjoyed it. I'm glad everybody out there leave some engaging comments. Yeah, like I said, there is channel memberships. You get some perks with the channel memberships at least. There's some extra videos coming out. There's a private feed on my YouTube channel for any level of member. and then you also get mentioned in my videos on, I think it's the second tier of the memberships. And as always, if you don't want to be a member, you don't have to be. It's it's up to you. Yeah, it just helps to bring stuff like being able to upgrade the facilities a bit and stuff like that. And then always, if you want to donate, there's not a link in this description. I've not added it, but there is a link in some of my in all my recent videos descriptions, a PayPal link if you want to donate and not subscribe and stuff like that. But thank you guys very much. We are very close to 1,000 subscribers. 1,000 subscribers are my goal for like 2024. I do want to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. So if you guys want to share my videos, share my chat page, share any of my content with anybody you think might be interested, I'd really appreciate that, because it would help me to reach this 1,000 subscribers goal. So yeah. And then, Johnny Ragadoo. So Johnny Ragadoo is my first and at this stage only member, and I appreciate you so much. Yeah. So you missed this stream, but at least there will be a rerun, and I'll probably add the video I did on Terence along with this one, just as like an extra video throughout the week, just to add the two together. Yeah, so I'm glad at least you made it to the last bit. So yeah, start the video, I have to watch a rerun, and of course I have cogent pithy remarks to make showcasing advanced math. Great channel, gives me faith logic eventually prevail in this world. Yeah, so a fun story is I've always contemplated on doing like a debunking conspiracy theory type channel, and at some stage I saw one of Simon Dan's videos where it was Creaky, where they spoke about Flatswood and they mentioned he was South African, and I was like, oh no, they're in my country as well. I need to do something, and that's where I like got the bug started biting me, and then never got to it really. And then the start of this year, I was like, if not now, then when? And then I started doing it, and having 700 people subscribe to me in the first, like, what's it now, 6 months. That's great. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys. But yeah, like I said, that's all from my side. Thanks for joining in. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. If it's only morning now, the rest of your evening if it's already evening. And then I'll see you guys next time.